The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Market Fantasy. They brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5, get $100 bonus funds. Use promo code SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Wednesday evening, October 8th, around 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm your host, always, Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Time getting to the breakdown of the quarterfinal matchups taking place in Shanghai, taking place on Thursday and Friday. They divided the quarterfinals into 2 days. So 2 matches on Thursday, 2 matches on Friday. We'll cover each of those matches in a few minutes. Before we get into the actual breakdown of the quarters, have to recap what happened in the round of 16. And before getting to that, though, a reminder, you can also support the show by liking and subscribing on YouTube. Reminder, you can also find the podcast on audio formats only, Spotify and Apple. So you can find the podcast a couple of ways. Doesn't really matter how you actually watch the show, but either way, leave a rating and a review on Spotify and Apple. Leave a like, subscribe to help the YouTube channel grow. Plus, a reminder, you can check out the merch store on the SGPN website. We have a lot of great tennis merch. We have sweatshirts, we have t-shirts, we have mugs. High quality, very affordable, different colors as well. So I recommend checking out the merch store for a lot of high-quality merch. Plus, a reminder, if you want to find all of our podcasts in one easy location, you go to the SGPN app in the App Store, free to download to get access to all of our picks and podcasts, free of charge in one easy location. So, getting into the recap of the last round, starting off with the lock and dog picks. Great episode, ended up sweeping everything as we ended up having a, once again, profitable episode. So for the lock, nice winner. We had Berg's team total over 12.5 at -110. He won the match barely. Thought he was alive against Diallo, and it actually went into a full-on war. But a couple ways to get there. Either Bergs wins in a close one, he loses in 3, or he ends up potentially winning in straight sets with a breaker, and we ended up getting the marathon win, I'd say, result, which cashed for us. Bergs cashed it easily, though, for the team total, won the second set, then eventually did go up 3-0 in the third set. So really never a sweat, but either way, nice win for us as Bergs got the job done there as he won outright, but nice win for the lock. Now for the dog, ended up having Griekspoor and Vacherod over 2.5 sets at +146. I would say a pretty similar story, really never in doubt. Griekspoor did win the first set, and then you ended up seeing Vacherod come back and eventually win the match, which was very impressive. But either way, a point is you ended up seeing a pretty fun war between the two of them, and you ended up seeing Vacherod survive as he won the second set in the breaker. He ended up winning the breaker 7-1, and then eventually did get the break late in the third set en route to a nice win. But Vacherod and Griekspoor had a nice battle, thought they would. Griekspoor has lost at least one set in 12 straight matches now, so pretty fun trend to keep an eye on. But either way, nice win at a great price at +146. So nice sweep for us. Going to look for another one here in the quarterfinals. For the recap of the fourth round, we had a bunch of drama that took place on Tuesday. 4 matches, none of them ended in straight sets. Bergs beat Diallo 10-8 in the final set breaker, fought off 2 match points, got the job done there, thought he'd actually went outright, and we were right on that one. Rune ended up beating Perricard, thought the first set would go to a breaker. That did not happen, but there was an over in there as Perricard got the job done in the second set that eventually did lose in 3, but the over got there for both team totals. So Djokovic beat Munar in 3. We called that, actually. Thought Munar would actually potentially win a set, and he did as he won the second set in a marathon, then got buried in the third set. Djokovic in 3 was our thoughts for that one. And Vacherod beat Griekspoor. Thought Griekspoor would win, but we did like the over. And, of course, we did like the over 2.5 sets, and they got there at a great plus money price. So a lot of drama happened on Tuesday, and you had one match full of drama on Wednesday. The others were pretty straightforward. So you saw Lehechka lose to Rinderknech in straight sets. Second set was close, and Rinderknech got the job done there in a breaker. De Minaur beat Borges in straight sets as well. He looked very good. Felix ended up beating Musetti in straight sets. Thought he would. Musetti was a decent favorite at like -135 or so. Thought it was wrong. Thought Felix at plus money was worth something, and it was, as he coasted, only losing 6 games in the entire match. And then you had the absolute epic between Tien and Medvedev again. Once again, Medvedev was on the verge of winning, and he choked it, and then he started cramping. But unlike about a week ago, Medvedev fought out the cramping, got the job done, eventually did win in a very fun match as he won in 3. Nice job by him to keep his composure. The actual cramping was a serious deal, and that caused him to basically punt away the tiebreak. But he started bombing first and second serves in the third set, had some pickle juice, had some vinegar. The cramps went away, and he was able to get the job done there in the third set. It's a nice win for him. Finally beats Tien for the first time in his career, was 0-2 against him this season. Both losses were in deciding sets, but eventually found a way to get the job done in 3. So that was the match, arguably, of the round. I mean, you had a couple of very close ones. I think it was either the Bergs-Diallo match or it was the Medvedev-Tien match. Probably Medvedev-Tien, because each of the first 2 sets were just extremely unpredictable, and they both went to tie breaks. But either way, it was an epic, and Medvedev won as he advances into the quarterfinals. So a great episode for us. Got most of it right. And either way, we'll see what happens moving forward into the quarterfinals. Now, once again, that's covering all the matches. You had a bunch of drama early, and I'd say it was mostly straightforward late, with the exception of the Medvedev match there. Medvedev, though, had some comments complaining about the actual start of the serve clock when he was serving. And he made a slight passing jab there at Nadal, who used to take an eternity to get ready. And some people weren't really feeling it, the comments that he made, and they kind of thought he was being a sore loser because Medvedev was complaining about Nadal, who, of course, is an all-time great player. Look, I think at the end of the day, since Medvedev is still playing, and we do know that he faced off against Nadal many times, a couple of Grand Slam finals as well, that he did not win, people think he was bitter towards Nadal, and maybe so. But I think he's right. I mean, Medvedev told the referee that his entire life he's had to wait for Nadal to get ready for 55 seconds, and then you gave me a warning on the first opportunity. So, look, Nadal was notorious around the tour for taking a very long time to get ready in between points. And the fact is that opens up a potential Pandora's box of, I'd say, chair umpire discrepancies. Because sometimes chair umpires can be strict towards certain rulings. Sometimes they're very lenient. Some players get special treatment, whether it involves bathroom breaks, injury timeouts, or even just serve clock stuff. Nadal did get a ton of favorable treatment from the chair umpires for his entire career. He did take a very long time in between points, and that was something that people brought up. And Medvedev brought it up again on Wednesday. Was he wrong? No. Do I think that Nadal did get special treatment over the years? Yes. Do I think Medvedev should have gotten it's pretty tricky once again. Should he have gotten a warning? Arguably, yes, because he did violate the time. Except if you're not going to call it on other players and you're going to call it on Medvedev, then it's still not fair, and it's based on the subjectivity of the actual chair umpire when to start the clock and when to actually enforce the warnings. So I understood where he was coming from. Medvedev was cramping, and the chair umpire showed him no mercy. I get it, he wanted some leniency, but the Nadal comment did rub some people the wrong way. I understood it. He played against Nadal, and Nadal did take a very long time in between either serving or returning. So I get where he was coming from. It didn't bother me that much, but he won the match anyway, so I guess it didn't really matter in the end. Anyway, it's going to wrap it up for the fourth round recap. Time to move on into the quarterfinals here in Shanghai. Before we get into the quarterfinals, reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, MyBookie.ag, using the bet on football, tennis, WNBA playoffs, and a reminder that a prop builder, second to none. Their model simple, bet anything, anywhere, anytime. Use crypto for deposits and payouts when you sign up for your new account. Use code SGPN when you sign up for 100% back bonus $100 for customers. Look at the G promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Novig, America's #1 prediction market for sports, and you're also getting some great prices at Novig. They have, for example, the Eagles next week, -7.5 on Thursday Night Football against the Giants, -103. So save some sense by betting on Novig. Available 35+ states, down the Novig app, and we have a nice deal with Novig to get you a nice promo when you make your new account. When you sign up, spend $5, get $50 bonus funds. When you use the promo code SGPN, you'll match your Novig. Promo code SGPN, spend $5, get $50 in bonus funds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the recap of the fourth round. Time to go on into the quarterfinals. So, starting off with the matches taking place on Thursday. First match, you have Rune taking on Vacherat, the serious Cinderella. I know Bergs is Cinderella too. Bergs is ranked 44th in the world. Vacherat's ranked 204th. So a massive run for the qualifier. Either way, Rune is a massive favorite here. He's about -450. I see actually some 360s, so there has been a decent discrepancy shopping around, but you can find 360. Vacherat's around 3-1 for the spread. You have -3.5 for Rune, +3.5 for Vacherat, and the over-under is at 22.5. Now, for the actual set spread, Rune in straight sets is -135. Vacherat to win a set is plus 105. The over 2.5 sets is around plus 180. Now, Rune's been very good so far in the event. After not looking that sharp against Baez in the first round, he has raised his level a little bit. Ended up beating Humbert in straight sets and beat Perricard in 3. Vacheron, though, has had a phenomenal run. Went through qualifying, beating the likes of Basaveretti and Draxel. Then he beat Degir, beat Bublik, beat Makic via retirement, and beat Griekspoor, because Griekspoor, of course, did beat Sinner in their immediate section. But either way, Vacheron is here in the series underdog role, and the question is, will he get the job done once again, or will Rune get a pretty favorable draw into the semis? So for the actual matchup here, no head-to-head history that we can use for this one. Now, Vacheron is a very good server, and that has definitely propelled him to this point in the event because of serving. He has some volley skills. He's crafty. He has a lot of overall hand skills, and I do think with his overall size and stature, he covers a lot of ground at the net. And when you have a decent amount of touch and court coverage, and you can also come to the net pretty aggressively, you can shorten points, and you can limit what Rune wants to do, which is prolong rallies. Now, we saw Rune break Perricard a couple of times, so he has seen a better serve, arguably best serve on the entire tour, and Rune did break him a couple of times en route to winning. But we saw that Perricard won a set. So you could argue that Vacheron has a path to actually pull off an upset here if he can serve well and if he can actually get deep into Rune return games, which we know Perricard could not do because he can't return to save his life. Vacheron's not that bad of a returner. He's not great at it, but for a guy his size, I think he can get returns in play. Rune's first serve has been great in the event. Second serve, though, has been vulnerable. I do think that you're looking at Vacheron, who maybe can find a way to pull it off. Plus, Rune, we know, is a head case who can choke against anybody, but I think Rune should win in reality. The fact is, he's the better player, and I do think in the long rallies, Rune will have an edge by a decent margin. Now, I do think the over is intriguing when you have a great server like Vacheron who can neutralize the Rune return game to some degree. And we know that Rune's serve, when he actually hits his first serve, can be dangerous as well. I have some serve stats for both guys. So for the actual numbers, both guys are winning a ton of their service games. You're looking at Vacheron, who's holding 94% of his service games, and Rune's holding 89%. So both guys are serving very well, and Rune's winning 80% of his first serve points. Vacheron's winning 79% of his first serve points. So I do think you're looking at what should be a decent amount of holds in this one, and I do think you're going to end up seeing a pretty competitive matchup. Now, I think Rune is going to win. Do I think it's going to be competitive? Yes. I don't see it being a very straightforward win for Rune. I think Vacheron plus the game is interesting. The over could be interesting. I think Rune will have some moments to maybe put away the match early. I think he'll blow them, and I think Vacheron can serve well enough to make this match interesting. But if Vacheron comes to the net, and if he can shorten points, I think there's a path for a decent amount of success here against Rune. Give me the over in this one. I think it's going to be a close matchup. I think it'll be fun, but I am going to go with Rune in 3 as my pick for this one. Moving on to the next matchup, looking at the matchup between Djokovic and Bergs. Djokovic decent favorite, about minus 390. Bergs around plus 300 for the spread, minus 3.5 for Djokovic, plus 3.5 for Bergs. The over-under is at 22.5. Set spread, Joker straight sets is minus 135. Bergs to win a set is plus 105. The over 2.5 sets is around plus 170. So, like the matchup between Rune and Vacheron, no head-to-head history, so can't use any previous meetings as a guide. But we know Djokovic has been vulnerable so far in the event. He's been winning, but he beat Cilic in straight sets, not easy. Only one break in the entire match for both guys combined. Beat Hoffman in 3, and beat Munar in 3. So, once again, winning is winning, but not comfortably winning for Djokovic. As for Bergs, he's been good. Did beat Diallo in 3. Got some revenge for losing to him twice this season. Beat Cerundolo in straight sets. He's been looking sharp. Now, Joker, of course, is better, and Bergs' main concern is the first serve percentage, which throughout the entire season has been a mess. So if Bergs hit his first serves, is in decent shape. If not, I think he gets killed. And the fact is, I think Bergs is going to struggle with this opponent because we know Djokovic is going to have a certain, I'd say, aura about him, which will cause the opponent to go for a bit much. I think Bergs' first serve will be somewhere in the 50% here, and I do think it's going to be too low against Djokovic. So I understand the Joker did end up losing a set to Munar and to Hoffman, but I think it's a pretty decent sell-high spot on Bergs, who we picked to beat Diallo, but I wasn't sold in Diallo's form either. So I think Joker's in a great spot. We know Djokovic, historically speaking, tends to raise his level at these points in events. He might coast for the first couple rounds, then flip a switch, and he'll end up beating an opponent he should beat easily. I see that happening. I don't mind Djokovic straight sets here at minus 135. Bergs did us a favor as he cashed the team total as the lock last episode, but he wants to rally, not a high first serve percentage, not a great second serve. Really a tough spot to put himself in against the best returner of all time. So based on that, I see Joker breaking serve multiple times. I think Bergs will struggle to break. We have seen Djokovic get broken, but he's not been broken more than one time the entire event in an actual match. He's been broken one time by Munar and one time by Hoffman and 0 times by Cilic. I think Bergs might break once, but I think you're looking at Djokovic, who should capitalize on a weak second serve from Bergs. And if Bergs starts going for a bit more on the first serve because of the opponent, it's going to be a pretty tough ask to actually defend a second serve against this guy. I think that'll be his undoing here. I think Joker wins in straight sets. Maybe one close one, but I see it being somewhere in the 6-4, 6-3 realm. Think it's more straightforward than people think. Give me Joker in straight sets at minus 135. Moving on to the next matchup. This is going to be the matchups taking place on Friday. So you have this one, Rinderknech taking on Felix, and we see Felix decent favor, minus 310. Rinderknech is around plus 250 for the spread, minus 2.5 for Felix, minus 140 on the 2.5, plus 2.5 for Rinderknech at plus 120. You can't find flat threes or anything to shop around if you want it. The over-under for games, though, is 23.5. The over is plus 110. Under is minus 130. Set spread, Felix and Rinderknech for the actual set handicaps are both minus 115. For Felix to win 2-0 and Rinderknech to win a set, both the same price. Over 2.5 sets is plus 170. So they have some history, unlike the previous two matches we talked about. So for this one, Felix is 2-0. Faced off 2 times this year. One in Mallorca on grass. Felix won in straight sets. Cincinnati, Felix was up a set in a break, and Rinderknech quit because he couldn't handle the heat, and he had to drop out. So Felix is 2-0, but there was a breaker in that Cincinnati one. So you could argue that Rinderknech has played quite well, maybe can find a way to make it interesting. Now, he beat Medjedovic via retirement in the first round, beat Mickelson, beat Zverev, and beat Lehecka. So nice wins back-to-back. For Felix, he's been looking very sharp as a married man, ended up beating Tabilo in the first round. Not an easy matchup there. First match since the U.S. Open semifinal against Sinner, and it looked great. Beat Tabilo in straight sets, beat De Jong in straight sets, and beat Musetti in straight sets. So Felix has looked quite good so far in the event, and he's 2-0 lifetime against Rinderknech, who I've been lower on in his career. However, I will give props to Rinderknech, who has improved his level over the last couple months, and he has beaten Zverev twice. He was able to beat Lehecka as well. I didn't outright him to win the event, so not really fun there. But the point is, Rinderknech's serve can be dangerous, but I think Felix is the better player right now. Felix is playing some really high-level tennis, and we saw him beat Zverev as well in the U.S. Open. We questioned if he'd be able to defend his level at the U.S. Open here after the layoff, and he has. So I'm going to go with Felix here. He destroyed Musetti in straight sets. Good win. I understand that Rinderknech has a good serve, but I think Felix is the better player. I think he has more weapons, and I think that his serve is also slightly better than Rinderknech's. I'll go with the favorite here in straight sets. Give me Felix to once again win without dropping a set against Rinderknech. Give me the minus 1.5 sets at minus 115 for this one. Moving on to the final play. In the quarters, you have Medvedev against de Minaur. Now, Medvedev is potentially exhausted. Luckily for him, he's off on Thursday after the crazy marathon win against Tien. Now, for this one, the money has actually been flying all over the place because de Minaur was around minus 300 and change. Then it plummeted, and now de Minaur's about minus 200. So the line's been cut almost in half just by waiting a couple of hours. De Minaur, though, is still the favorite, minus 200. Medvedev is plus 150 for the over-under. I see 22.5 for the set for the actual spread. I mean, for games, de Minaur minus 2.5 and Medvedev plus 2.5. So head-to-head history has been in favor of Medvedev, who's currently ahead 7-4. But we know Medvedev has a pretty tough spot off the marathon against Tien with cramping, and you have de Minaur, who's been incredible for the last couple of weeks. We saw him look great in the Laver Cup. We saw him carry that over into Beijing. Did lose to Sinner in 3. He won a set, though. He looked good and did end up falling short. Then in Shanghai, beat Carbelli in straight sets, beat Mychik in straight sets, and beat Borges in straight sets. He looks really, really good. You could argue this is peak de Minaur form. He's increased some firepower a little bit, and the point is he is looking pretty sharp in the last couple of weeks. So he's been very good. Now, Medvedev, we know, has been up and down all season. Fired his coach, has a new one. beat, once again, he won the first two matchups in straight sets, including a win against Fekina, and then he ended up beating Tien in a marathon, which he probably should have won in straight sets, but either way, he ended up winning in 3. So I'll put it this way. I think the time off's going to help Medvedev recover, so I'm not really buying too much into the fatigue immediately. However, when you are battling cramps and when fatigue can be an issue, the last person you want to face is, of course, besides Alcaraz and Sinner, is de Minaur, who is just the ultimate pusher, who's going to keep balls in play, force it to run around, and I think Medvedev might be fully exhausted over the course of this match. Now, Medvedev, if he's going to win, I think he has to win in straight sets. I think if it goes distance, with his cramping and with the overall heat and humidity in Shanghai, it's tough. It's very, very tough for Medvedev to beat de Minaur, in my opinion. Now, I understand the head-to-head's in favor of Medvedev. I'll mention the last couple of meetings just for reference. Faced off in Monte Carlo this year. De Minaur won in straight sets. Faced off in the ATP Finals last year. Medvedev did win. Faced off in the French Open last year. De Minaur did win. So the point is, Medvedev has been winning the hardcourt meetings, but we saw de Minaur win the only meeting this season, which was on clay. But I think de Minaur's in a great spot. He's not dropped a set yet. He's been coasting. He's in great form. Medvedev's been very, very up and down. He's recently found a certain, I say resurgence, but it is not a great spot and opponent combo. When you're cramping against Tien, and now you're against basically a better version of Tien with de Minaur, I see a pretty tough spot for Medvedev. Now, I get if you want to argue that the head-to-head speaks for itself and Medvedev is a better server, then I can understand where you're coming from. But I do think Medvedev, if you are going to go for the play, I don't mind the first set money line. I think, once again, if he's going to win, he has to win early. I don't trust his body to hold up long-term if this match goes 3 hours, but I think he can get off to a decent start if he can serve, hit his spots, and de Minaur we know is not a great server. So I'll go with the de Minaur actual spread in this one personally. I think it's a bad matchup for Medvedev, and I think that de Minaur, who's been looking really, really good in the event, should be able to find enough, I'd say, openings in Medvedev's game. And the fact is Medvedev, we know mentally, is still yelling at his coaches a lot. He's still not exactly happy out there. I think he can wear Medvedev down physically and mentally over the course of these 2 or 3 sets. I'll go with de Minaur in this one. I get why money's coming on Medvedev again, because he's been good in the head-to-head, and he did look a lot better in that third set. I think de Minaur, though, is at a certain level where he is, in my opinion, above Medvedev. I think he looks really, really good. And watching them both play right now in the event, I think de Minaur's been better. So give me de Minaur in this one, minus the games. But if you want to go Medvedev, I don't mind the first set money line to go for a bit of a bolder play. Anyway, it's going to wrap it up for the quarters. Time to go on into the lock and dog picks. Before we get into the lock and dog, reminder brought to you by our sponsor, which is Onyx Fantasy. Play Fantasy Pick'em for a chance to win 500 times your entry. Pick higher or lower on player stats. You can also use it for a ton of different sports. They have tennis. They have baseball for the playoffs. They have WNBA. They have hockey for the start of the NHL season. Check it out. And when you sign up for a new account, use the offer that we have with Underdog. Play just $5, get $100 bonus funds. Use the promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. They're off to a great start in college football and NFL with picks and props. They went 8-2 in passing prop overs in week 5. So getting on the action. They also have a nice week of cash prize for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of any type from any model that you build, and you can win $1K. And a reminder, we have a promo code with Rhythm for a discount. Use code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for a quarter off first month. Download Rhythm. Once again, promo code SGPN25. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Scam Podcast. Finished going through the preview of the quarterfinal matchups. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks here for Shanghai. For the lock, I'm going to go to a prop on Bet365. I'm going to the de Minaur match against Medvedev. This line, in my opinion, is too low. Give me the total breaks over 4.5 breaks of serve at minus 125. We know both guys are not great at serving. Medvedev has a more powerful first serve. Second serve can be an adventure. And de Minaur, we know, is one of the best returners in the entire world. Medvedev has had a bunch of breaks in his last couple of matchups. 3 of the last 4 matches he's played have had at least 5 breaks. So a decent hit rate. On top of that, the head-to-head has been flying over this number of 4.5. 10 of the 11 career meetings have had at least 5 breaks. Now, I am aware there are some Grand Slam matchups in there that might skew the data. Point is, though, when they face off against each other, expect breaks. So I do like the 4.5 here. I expect money to come in on the over. Medvedev got broken a bunch by Tien. I think de Minaur can do the same. And I think you're looking at de Minaur serve, who's also not that great. We know Medvedev stands far back on the court. He should get a lot of balls back in play. A bunch of very long rallies are in store for this matchup. And historically speaking, it has been full of breaks. So I like the price here, minus 125. I'll take that as my lock for the show. For my dog, I'm going to go to the Rune match against Vacherot. Give me the over half a tie break at plus 104. That's on Bet Rivers. Vacherot, I mentioned these stats before. I'll repeat them again. Vacherot is holding serve in 94% of service games in the event. Rune is holding serve at 89% of his service games. So both guys don't get broken really ever in the event, and I think you can get a nice script here where each guy holds 6 times in a row. In a set, you end up getting a breaker out of it or maybe one break apiece. But the hit rate recently for Vacherot, or the whole rate, I mean, has just been Isner-esque, and Rune is not far behind. So I do like the hold rate for both guys. Rune winning 80% of his first serve points. Vacherot winning 79% of his first serve points. I see a lot of really good serving numbers for the two of them, and I do think plus money for a very good server who's not a great returner in Vacherot. To go to a breaker against Rune does have some value. I'll go for that. I find it fascinating the total in this one's at about 23.5, give or take, and Rune's team total is around 13.5. Yet the actual tie break in the match is at plus 104. I like the price. I'll take it as my dog for the show. So once again, the lock and dog. The lock's going to be on Dimonauer and Medvedev. Over 4.5 combined breaks in the match at minus 125 on Bet365. For the dog, give me the Rune match over half a tie break at plus 104 on Bet Rivers. It's going to wrap it up for the show. Like once again, in a couple days for the semis in Shanghai. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.